Hello, Internet. Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset. Taliesin and Evitel's wondrous wisdom show in a week where, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. The pre-patch is here this week. The new Legacies cinematic series starts here this week. If you are watching this before Tuesday, then this now is the end times for, and I think it's fair to say this, and it's for a whole myriad of reasons, but one of the least popular WoW expansions ever. We are in the final drawn-out death throes of Shadowlands, fam, because from this week, it is Dragonflight all the way, baby. Pre-patch! And I bet you're looking forward to playing those Dracthyr Evokers, right? Yeah? Well, don't get too excited because they're actually coming in phase 2 of the pre-patch rollout on November the 15th. And even then, only if you pre-ordered. It's basically the same rollout as Demon Hunters back in Legion pre-patch, don't sweat it. Yeah, well, okay, but I bet you're looking forward to those cool Elemental Storm pre-patch events that we were talking about last week, though. Yeah? I can tell you're excited about those, but don't be, because those are also coming in phase 2. Oh, but look at your little face, though. Look how excited you are about the new revamped Uldum Dungeon to play with all the new bosses and lore, and that's good. I'm glad you're excited, and what I'd ask you to do right now is just hold on to that excitement for another 3 weeks until November the 15th, when the dungeon is also available in phase 2 of the pre-patch rollout. In fact, this pre-patch splash screen that you're seeing here on the screen right now, ignore that. Just forget you ever saw it. It's not important. It's this one where the real action is. Oh yeah, look at all that good stuff. No, seriously, look at it. Because we've got the new talent system to play with on all classes, which, in fairness, is a lot of fun stuff. Like, genuinely, we're working hard right now on our class guides at the moment, which is one reason this episode is going to be more of a short, sharp update to let you know what's going on in pre-patch. But you'll see, when you jump into the game this week, that for the most part, classes now are usually pretty similar to the Shadowlands version in terms of concept and playstyle, but with just more options and combinations and builds and variety. Yes, there's obviously some exceptions to that, but that's a conversation for another time. I'll let you find out which ones those are for yourself. And that's generally a good thing, I think. Most classes have the potential to be improved overall in terms of enjoyment by these trees, and it's really just a case of getting that tuning as sorted as possible between now and the release of the Vault of Incarnates raid. Phase 4, by the way, and the start of Season 1. And yeah, I know, I hope you like splash screens because we've got them up the wazoo today. Here's the one for the start of Dragonflight. We're not talking about it, I just thought you'd like to see it. Don't forget, when you're playing with these talent trees, of course, that you will essentially be missing 10 talent points across your class and spec trees, because no one will be getting the full impact of these new talent setups until they level to 70 in the Dragon Isles. So my advice, just totally not bother with your interrupt for now. Seriously, like, whatever interrupt your class has, just don't bother with it. Use that point to get further down the tree to the fun stuff instead, because to be honest, I'm sure everyone else in your group will have taken their interrupt, and so it'll be fine. How bad could it be? I just skip the interrupt, honestly. And also, any kind of damage reduction or mitigation or anything like that. Why are you going to need to survive damage when your healer is going to be healing you all the time anyway? In fact, if anything, they would probably prefer it if you didn't take any mitigation, because it will help them perform better on the healing logs, which, as we know, are very, very important. Spend those points on fun DPS stuff instead. That's my tip on how to make the most of the new talent trees at level 60 anyway. In any case, 3 weeks is going to give you plenty of time to get to grips with that new system, as well as saving loadouts for different scenarios like your AoE loadout and your single target loadout, and playing around with your new UI setups, because this week, all those new UI customization changes are also going to hit, giving you the freedom to change everything about the layout of your screen to your complete satisfaction. Having spent quite a lot of time playing with the new UI stuff now, I don't think it's actually going to replace any of my add-ons at all. It can't quite replicate all my class weak auras that I'm very proud of. It definitely can't replicate my sweet-ass immersion and dynamic cam questing setup. It's missing the one single utility, which is literally the reason I use Move Anything, which is specifically to make my windowed map and quest frames bigger, and it also doesn't animate my character portrait like Adapt does, so you know, I will still be using that too. But that's not to say that I don't think the new UI options aren't good, because they definitely are. I will be using lots of them, and they will absolutely improve my gameplay experience. I think that over time, a lot of people will find that they are using less add-ons, which is great. And of course, that is not all for the pre-patch, because yeah, there is still a whole splash screen window to go yet, which I can reveal to you now is Dragonflight. Coming soon. Okay, yeah, that's basically it for the first 3 weeks of pre-patch, sorry. There are other smaller changes and additions coming this week though, like solo rated PvP queuing. Yes, you can jump into rated PvP anytime you like now at your own leisure and work towards a bunch of sweet rewards. Most notably for most rated PvP newcomers, I would imagine, vicious saddle mounts. The beautiful, glorious, bouncy round hippo boy is now open to all. And that really is a massive quality of life change because Maurice is life. And I'm really looking forward to reporting back on this later because there is only one thing that a bunch of PvP noobs jumping into rated groups with random comps and no voice comms or obligation to be nice to their completely unknown teammates can result in, isn't it? And that's a fun and fulfilling time for all. Also, all Shadowlands raids are now fated all at the same time, which means it's a great chance to try out your new talent builds in a more high-stakes environment and also to finish any gearing you want to take care of, because being able to run all 3 raids every week means finally it's dinner time, folks. Come and get it. Oh, I've been waiting to say that for so long, sorry. Thanks. All those Shadowlands raids will also be shifting to the new group loot system, which means you'll be rolling need and greed on the gear that drops, but you'll have to do it without your tier set bonuses, which are being deactivated with the launch of the pre-patch, as we talked about last week. Covenant abilities aren't going away, but they are being disabled in everything which isn't Shadowlands content, which is brave, frankly, because a lot of those new talents on the new talent trees basically are Covenant abilities. And I gotta tell you, fam, I don't know what's gonna happen when you've got Slappy Hands as a Covenant ability and the chosen talent. Like, I don't know if that's gonna be fine, or if the entire game is gonna collapse in on itself and go supernova. But based on the last 18 years of playing, I'm gonna go ahead and say it will definitely be fine, and we shouldn't worry about it. Lastly, there is also big leveling changes as Chromie time extends to level 60, meaning that from now on until Dragonflight launches, it is possible to level a new character in their entirety, or from level 10 anyway, through whatever expansion you choose. Even Shadowlands, if you like. And I know, all of you will choose Shadowlands. Of course you will, because you probably miss it so bad after a whole week of pre-patch. But if you have any time left, give some of the other expansions a chance too. You might even enjoy them, who knows. Of course, it is in the second phase of pre-patch that the real meat and potatoes begins in earnest, with the dungeon and evokers and events and brand new Twitch drops for the first time ever in WoW, something that at the time of writing we have no information on at all. But Twitch drops are basically in-game rewards that you can get by linking your Battle.net account to your Twitch account and then just watching a certain amount of hours of streamers playing World of Warcraft, including, hopefully, us. And what will those rewards be? A lot of people have speculated that it could be the classic mounts and companions that have just started to be sold on the Chinese version of the in-game shop. I mean, on the Chinese shop, those mounts are priced at the equivalent of around 30 to 70 US dollars, which people will pay, because I've seen the Rooster TCG card going for thousands on eBay before now, and I think the traditional rarity of those mounts and the prices that they fetch in the real world are probably going to rule those particular mounts out from being free Twitch drops somehow. It would be cool though. Imagine if you had sunk £2,104.76 on the X51 Nether Rocket Extreme yesterday, only to be told that you could get the exact same thing just by watching Towley for a few days. So yeah, overall, this next 3 weeks is likely to feel a bit more like a purgatory in-between phase between the two expansions than the real start of Dragonflight itself. Luckily then, that we will have some out-of-game content to keep us busy in the shape of the new Legacies cinematics, which will start with the pre-patch on Tuesday. These are what are commonly known in the community as the 2.5D animations that first appeared back in Mists of Pandaria, but which really established themselves as a part of the lead-in to a new expansion in the build-up to WoD, and have been a staple of every new expansion since. Judging by the trailer that hit the Warcraft YouTube channel this week, there's been a slight change in art style from Laurel Austin's iconic and instantly recognizable look, with the new series looking a bit softer and friendlier. And I've got to be careful predicting anything here, because many of you will be watching this after the first installment of Legacies have gone live, and you might make fun of me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it certainly looks like we were right as to the subject matter of these 3 cinematics. Way back in our Who is the Final Boss of Dragonflight video, we pointed out the dialogue box in-game that appears to be your way way of accessing the Legacies cinematics. And they are entitled The Dawn of the Aspects, Neltharion's Downfall, and the Dracthyr's Origins. 3 topics that certainly seem to be covered in this trailer, with Nosdormu being our guide, apparently giving the newly awakened Dracthyr Evokers a quick history lesson in all the stuff that they're going to need to know before the expansion starts. And it's a bit like when you're watching a TV show and they have a previously on, and they randomly show a character who popped up once, like 6 episodes ago, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess Charlie the Meth Head is going to be in this episode then, right? Because why else would they remind us of him right now? Because what I'm guessing, and which lots of you will already know if I'm right or not, is that the first episode that will release this week is the Dawn of the Aspects? Yeah, I'm going to say Dawn of the Aspects. That's what I'm going for, which is essentially all about how Alexstrasza and Nosdormu and the other 3 that we've killed over the last few years teamed up to defeat Galakrond, the big skeleton in Northrend, and for many, a prime candidate for final boss, or at least important boss, of this entire expansion. Yeah, I wonder why they'd remind us of Charlie the Meth Head, Galakrond, right now. Some new information about Galakrond, of course, that blue spoiler bot for 10 seconds starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we learn from books found in the upcoming Uldum Dungeon, is that Galakrond became corrupted in the first place through drinking water that was tainted by Yogg-Saron. This big many-eyed extra-limbed dragon-eating dragon is officially an old god creation, as is, blue bot spoiler over, Neltharion, of course, who was corrupted by N'Zoth, and who is the subject of, I'm gonna say, the second Legacies cinematic, which coincidentally looks like it includes this rendering of the climax of the Dragon Soul raid, which, if you ask me, has been purposely drawn to be reminiscent of and bring to mind that first official image of N'Zoth ever revealed by Blizzard for his Hearthstone card. Just like there are multiple shots of dragon eyes in this trailer, which, if you ask me, are specifically drawn to be reminiscent of and bring to mind the Eye of N'Zoth, which will be seared into all WoW players' minds after BFA, and which all the cool kids still wear on their heads to this day. Then there's the fact that our guide through these cinematics is Nosdormu, whose line,
"My story is already written,"
reminds us that he is destined to become Murazond, thanks to old god corruption. And then I remember that the original concept of the partially built but not completed Dragon Isles back in vanilla was that it is full of massive old god temples. And it's kind of weird that current Blizz chose not to make that a thing about their Dragon Isles at all. And then I can't help but think, or did they? Look, I'm just saying that if I was a more tinfoil hat type person, then I might point out there are some pretty strong old god hints starting to bubble under the surface of this expansion. But don't worry, because I'm not that kind of tinfoil hat type person, and so I can promise you right now, there are no old gods in Dragonflight, and thank goodness for that. Obviously, I am especially excited about Legacies because it means the return of our cinematic analysis videos. The first one we ever made was for the Jaina Warbringer. They're our favourite series to make along with the class guides, which we are also working on right now. If there really are 3 in the series, then 1 a week will see us all the way up to the launch of Phase 2 of the pre-patch. Basically, this is the good times to be a WoW player, when a whole ton of new content and adventures are just on the horizon and anything is possible. Just enough time for a quick roundup of some last-minute changes to the beta recently. New in the beta this week, changes to Dracthyr ability Soar. Their falling, gliding, not as good as dragon flying racial ability, which allows it to become just as fast as legit dragon riding in the Dragon Isles, specifically by leveling up your dragon riding skill. A compromise and neat synergy on the racial, which isn't going to placate those who just want our goofy, scaly boys to be able to, like, fly like a dragon in the Dragon Isles, just like Dracthyr NPCs do, for goodness sake. But which is a definite improvement for the racial, and I don't know, maybe the first step towards letting the Dracthyr roam the skies freely like they definitely should be able to. Okay, yeah, that is definitely hopium right there, my bad, sorry. Also, new this week, Blizz confirmed that the weapon illusions for artifact weapon appearances that we talked about last episode, and which were then disabled again in the next build revealed after last episode will actually be a thing and will be available, quote, soon after launch, which is genuinely surprising to me because I was convinced that was a mistake and still think it kind of might have been, but a good mistake that has now forced Blizzard's hand a bit. And that's good. They've put portals in Valdrakken to the new Dragonflight Mythic Plus dungeon locations, which is pretty handy and cool, don't mind if I do. And that's about it. I do suggest checking the description of this video where we will be posting links to Wowhead articles that not only cover a whole lot of the stuff we've mentioned today in more detail, but maybe with some new stuff that happened while this video was being recorded and edited. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? I'm afraid I'm gonna have to run now to get on with the class guides, get ready for cinematic analysis videos. I've got to finish mortaring this wall behind me. I've got another wall to paint right here and a carpet to lay too if I want this new office to be ready for Dragonflight. So apologies for the fleeting nature of this episode. Maybe you liked it more this way, I don't know. I promise that Evitel will be back with a more traditional, full-bodied weekly reset routine just as soon as we are properly set up here again. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons, who all give their actual real-life money to make all of our work happen. And guys, seriously, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is MOcast. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel and Nyrin and Penny too. Until next time, cheerio.